Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now Anthony Joshua has explained that he will fight Kubrat Pulev, then hopefully, God willing, he wins that fight. He will move on to Tyson Fury. So there is no mention of Alexander Usyk, and now the WBC have also confirmed that there's nothing in the way of Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, provided Tyson Fury comes through Deontay Wilder, provided Anthony Joshua comes through Kubrat Pulev. Undisputed will happen. So there was a 2-fight deal agreed verbally between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury for 2021, and that can go ahead now provided both fighters win their next respected fights. So that would be one fight in June or July and one fight in December. There is nothing in the way now, obviously because of Dillian Whyte's shock loss to Alexander Povetkin. That mandatory position for the WBC World title will likely not come around again for a year, because they are talking about getting Alexander Povetkin back in the ring by November, December, which I do not think is a good idea for starters, because Dillian Whyte has just suffered a knockout loss. If he were to get back into the ring in November, he's going to have to start training camp like next week to be ready for that date. So that's not right. That should not be happening. 1 week off is not enough after suffering a knockout loss like that. So December, that's even a push. January, that's probably a better time for Dillian Whyte to come back into the ring against Alexander Povetkin, especially after that knockout defeat. That's not to say that Dillian Whyte should not be back in the ring. That's just with Dillian Whyte's best interests in mind. So with there being a rematch between Alexander Povetkin and Dillian Whyte for the WBC Interim World Championship and the Diamond Belt, that will mean that the mandatory will be called after that fight, but probably not for a year, because obviously Dillian Whyte was number one for 1,000 days, WBC Interim World Champion. That has gone away now. He is no longer Interim Champion, Povetkin is. So by the time that hopefully and maybe Dillian Whyte wins that title back, which I predict he will. I believe he will beat Alexander Povetkin in the rematch. But by that point, he will have to wait probably a year before his mandatory position is called. Meaning there will likely be an undisputed champion by the time Dillian Whyte is called as a WBC mandatory. There will be many other mandatories as well, because if you think one champion, one face, one name, with all of those belts, there's going to be a lot of mandatories to deal with after 2 undisputed fights. So there will be 2 fights that go past without a mandatory opportunity given to the number one in that governing body. So there will be a WBA mandatory, obviously a WBO mandatory as well, Alexander Usyk, especially if they are going to make him wait, which we are being led to believe they are going to. So the IBF mandatory will be dealt with very soon in Kubrat Pulev, so provided Anthony Joshua comes through that fight, that's the IBF done. And there is an undisputed champion after 2 fights between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Then they will have a WBO mandatory. They will have probably a WBA mandatory by that point, and a WBC mandatory in Dillian Whyte, provided he beats Alexander Povetkin. So there will be many different mandatories and number one challenges to those belts once there is an undisputed champion. So that undisputed champion likely will have to vacate some belts if they are going to hold on to them, or probably fight 3 or 4 times in a year, which maybe is not plausible because Tyson Fury fights, 3 times a year? Anthony Joshua fights twice a year. So those belts will be scattered after undisputed. So Dillian Whyte will get his opportunity at some point, provided he does overturn that loss to Povetkin. But that is a big if. And plus, in addition to that, he should not be back in the ring, I don't believe, in November. I think December is even a push for Dillian Whyte. I would rather see Dillian Whyte take a month off, get back to training then, and maybe have the fight in January. I know it's another month lost in the career of Dillian Whyte, but ultimately that extra month could be the difference between him winning the fight and losing the fight. I know it was a flash knockout. 1 punch, that was it. But there is no way that a week after suffering a knockout like that, he should be back into training camp. It's just not right for Dillian Whyte. And ultimately, I don't believe he's going to get his shot in early 2021 anyway. The WBC have even confirmed that there is nothing standing in the way of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, meaning Dillian Whyte is out of the equation for likely a full year. Then his mandatory spot will be called, give it 6 months, then he'll be in the ring with the WBC champion. So realistically, there is no rush for Dillian Whyte to get back into the ring with Alexander Povetkin other than to overturn that loss, to get back to winning ways. And yes, of course, that is the motivation for Dillian Whyte, to get back to winning ways. But it's better if he takes his time, does it properly, gets back to winning ways definitely in January, rather than rush it and risk another shock loss. I'm not saying I believe that Povetkin is going to beat him again, because I don't. I believe that Dillian Whyte will beat him because Whyte was in control. He knocked him down twice. He was winning that fight quite comfortably, but got caught with a shot he did not see coming. So ultimately in the rematch, he needs to make sure he is more switched on. So maybe give it a bit more time. I believe that is what Dillian Whyte needs at this stage. But we do have a clear path to undisputed now. We thought it was going to be 2 fights. Alexander Povetkin for Dillian Whyte, then he's called as mandatory. Then Tyson Fury has to fight him before getting to Anthony Joshua. That has gone now. So there is 1 fight for Anthony Joshua, 1 fight for Tyson Fury. Then undisputed will happen. Which also leads us to believe that Alexander Usyk will be stepping aside for the duration of 2021 to miss his WBO mandatory opportunity. I don't know how they are going to get around that, but ultimately they must have found a way, because Anthony Joshua is not talking about Usyk. He's talking about Pulev, then Tyson Fury. Maybe they're dropping the belt. We don't know at the moment. I know it doesn't mean it's undisputed then, but maybe that's the only way this fight can happen. And the war of words has reignited between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury anyway. Tyson Fury put a picture up of someone walking their son, and the son asks, "Where are we going?" And the father says, "To school, you bum." And there's a picture of Tyson Fury's face on the father and a picture of Anthony Joshua's face on the youngster. So Tyson Fury is reigniting this war of words, and clearly that is a reaction to Dillian Whyte's loss and the loss of his mandatory position in 2021, meaning that Tyson Fury is 100% free to go and fight Anthony Joshua and keep hold of that WBC world title in doing so, because I believe that Tyson Fury was happy to vacate in the event that the WBC tried to force him to fight Dillian Whyte instead of fighting Anthony Joshua. I believe that Dillian Whyte wasn't going to get his opportunity at Tyson Fury no matter what happened, because Tyson Fury did not want to fight him. He wanted to fight Anthony Joshua. So I don't believe Tyson Fury had any intentions of fighting Dillian Whyte no matter what happened. In that fight between Dillian Whyte and Alexander Povetkin, Tyson Fury never had any intentions of facing him. He explained that many, many times. So there is a clear path now. It is of course a shame for Dillian Whyte because he has waited so long, but he's 1 win away from being number 1 again. 1 win away from a possible world title opportunity. It's been a long time, and he's going to have to wait maybe another year, maybe even a bit longer, but ultimately Dillian Whyte can still get that world title opportunity, but it seems 2 undisputed fights will happen before that point. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.